Welcome to Grid Talk. My name is Tom Downey, and here today we're going to discuss the breaking news that Adrian Newey is joining Aston Martin for 2025. Joining me, we have talk co-host George Howson. Hello, sir.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on this impromptu podcast. But
My
before we
pleasure.
get into this episode, we must thank our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Also, be sure to follow us on socials at GridTalkUK. And also, if you're feeling particularly generous, please do consider supporting us on Patreon for exclusive access and behind-the-scenes content. So, George, now that the formalities are out of the way, Adrian Newey, we saw earlier this year, he announced he was going to be leaving Red Bull due to the upset that was there earlier in the season. There was a lot of speculation over whether he was going to go to Ferrari. He was in rumours to be going to Audi, but he has finally settled on Aston Martin. Now, he is 65. He has a 3-year contract, I believe, with the title of managing technical partner. It was announced earlier today being the 10th of September. It looks like this contract is going to be worth $30 million a year, and he is apparently going to be paid in a mix of salary and stocks, shares, options, all that kind of thing. What does this mean for Aston Martin?
Well, it means that they've got the best chance they could possibly have of ever competing for wins and championships. You know, you've got the brand new facility there, which has literally just opened, as it said on the broadcast today. It was broadcast live on TV here in the UK. That's how big of a deal it was. You'd never get a designer signing for a team and there being a live broadcast on Sky Sports. That just never happened unless it was Adrian Newey. I mean, it's like I said, it's given the best possible chance of going through to the 26 regulations with a guy who has won 25 drivers and constructors championships if you add them all together, which off the top of my head, you're talking about coming up to what, the like 20% of all championships ever in Formula One history, something like that. It's a bonkers statistic. He's a guy wherever he's been, he's brought success. He's won championships at Red Bull, at McLaren, at Williams. He did wonders earlier on his career in IndyCar, and then when he joined F1 with March as well. So this is a guy that knows how to win, and they've given themselves the best chance. And that's kind of what Lawrence Stroll was saying when he was on his press conference when this was being officially announced. You know, he is the best in the world at what he does. Because he is. He's been through so many different regulation changes and he has so much experience and he goes about his work in a completely unique way. He's the only major designer that still uses a physical drawing board, for example, and clearly it works. So I'm so excited to see what happens with him. Hamilton going to Ferrari next year, Adrian Newey going to Aston Martin. F1's looking like in a very exciting place at the moment.
Absolutely. And, for Aston Martin, this is the latest in sort of like a line of major coups for them. So it's worth noting that the current technical director at Aston Martin is Dan Fallows, who worked under Adrian Newey at Red Bull from 2006 until 2021. Aston Martin has also got the former Mercedes, I believe he's the engine boss, Andy Cowell, who's heading there. He's joining as, I believe, the CEO in October. Obviously, they've also got Honda coming on board for 2026. And then they've also got the Ferrari chassis technical director. I can't remember his name, I'm afraid. But he's also joining at some point next year. So that combined with the firepower of hopefully a good Honda power unit, because we've seen when Honda joined Red Bull, they really seem to get their power units into a place where they were pretty damn usable, unlike when they were at McLaren in 2015. The less said about that, the better. That team is certainly looking like quite something. Plus with Fernando Alonso at the wheel, and Lance Stroll, that could be a team that we saw in 2023. It certainly had glimpses of being at the top. So this is definitely going to be something quite exciting for the team. I suppose another question is for Newey himself. I mean, as I said earlier, he's 65. This is a 3-year contract, well, presumed to be a 3-year contract. This will take him until he's, 68, 69, depending on his birthday. Do you think this will be his last gig in F1? before he then set sails into retirement.
Probably will be, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, he does strike me as someone who just absolutely loves to work and he's just going to do it as long as he can. And let's be honest, physically, this is not a demanding job. Mentally, it very much is, of course, but he's someone who can keep going for as long as he wants, really, at the end of the day. I mean, I heard that this was a 5-year deal. Either way, it's a long-term deal. It just depends on what he wants to do, really. I mean, I've been reading about this. I've been looking on sites like the F1 Chronicle, and they've had some articles about like how there were discussions apparently between Newey and Ferrari. That wasn't just baseless rumors. They were actually talking with each other. And while Fred Vasseur couldn't get on the same page as him, he's kind of left the door open to say, well, maybe in the future things will work out. But I don't really see him going to Ferrari. I mean, if he was going to do it, he was going to do it now. He also had a chance to join them 10, 15 years ago and didn't because he didn't want to move out of England. That kind of ruled out Audi, I imagine, as well for him because he was rumoured to be going to them personally as well. So it could well be his last gig in Formula One. It could be his last hurrah. It could be a last chance for Fernando Alonso to get that fabled third world title, which would be, at that point, 20 years after his last. I mean, that'd probably be a record that never gets broken, gap between two championships. And so it probably will be his last gig. But then again, you don't know with Newey. He might well want to go to Audi or something at some point. You don't know, but I think no matter what, he's probably going to stay in the UK. I think that much is clear. He doesn't want to move away from home, which is absolutely understandable. And when you're getting paid, what, a potential $30 million per year, plus benefits, plus performance things, plus the stocks, which Aston Martin just recently got, just the Formula One team, not even anything to do with the car team, their Formula One team just recently got valued at 2.6 billion US dollars. So that number's going to keep going up, especially, and I imagine it'll probably get a little bump today after today's news as well. So it could well be his last gig, but you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me personally, I think it will probably be his last gig. I wonder if he'll see out the contract. I wonder if Stroll Senior will maybe start to meddle and stuff. I mean, that will remain to be seen. But I'm sure Adrian Newey will be given absolute free rein to do whatever he wants with that car, and by extension, that team. And given his title is managing technical partner, obviously a partner means he is a sort of shareholder in the company. I haven't checked Companies House, but I imagine that when he joins, he will be. Do you think Newey has perhaps got a bit of unfinished business when it comes to the road car side of things? So steering a little bit away from F1 itself. Obviously, Newey was heavily involved with the cars like the Valkyrie, the Vulcan. I think there was the Valhalla as well. I'm maybe forgetting some of the some of the names of the cars. But do you think Newey's perhaps got a bit of unfinished business there, especially when Newey and sorry, not Newey, but when Aston Martin and Red Bull split in 2021, I want to say.
Potentially, yeah, potentially. I mean, he loves his road car things. I mean, we've seen Fernando Alonso's custom-made Aston Martin Valkyrie being on the back of a lorry as it broke down in Monte Carlo recently. But in general, I'm sure it's a fantastic car. It looks incredible anyway. I'm sure he'll want to do stuff like that, and he did kind of allude to it. The fact he'll do other stuff as well. You never know; it might allow him a chance. I mean, I don't know if he actually ever went into it properly, but I know he's been involved with like his sailing and stuff like that with Red Bull, and I know that he really enjoys that, so he might do some of that as well. You don't know how the structure's going to work because it's an ever evolving kind of format they've got at Aston Martin at the moment. You don't know how hands-on he'll be. He might just be like, right, this is the kind of philosophy we're going to go with here. We need to do this, that, and the other. Go and make it, sort of thing. You don't know how this kind of thing goes. I don't know how it works when it comes to these design teams because they're massive at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier on, wherever he goes, he wins. I imagine it's going to be a similar story with Aston Martin. Although some people might be expecting incredible things from next year. I wouldn't personally. Most of the focus is going to be on 26. You'd have to imagine. And on top of that, the car right now is not the best. You might see an uptick in performance as the season goes on, but really it's all eyes on 26. And I don't see why you can't keep going with Aston Martin cars because, they're an iconic brand. He said during his interview today that they're the most iconic Formula One brand aside from Ferrari. That's a bit debatable, but they're definitely up there. They are a marquee, really, for sure. So I can absolutely see when there's another James Bond film that is being designed by Adrian Newey, that whatever car he or she, because there's so many rumors about that. That's a totally different subject. Whoever that person drives in that film, it could well be designed by Adrian Newey.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me personally, Aston Martin is my favorite of all the road cars. It is a dream to own one day. I am slowly saving up for an Aston Martin DBS. So, Newey, if you want to hook a boy up, just let me know. But, I doubt that he will be listening to this. I'd be probably slightly mesmerized if he was. But to just wrapping this up, George, like I said, this is only going to sort of be a quick podcast. Obviously, we've got the regulation change coming in 2026 with new Aero, where we're going to have movable front and rear wings, and the cars are going to be a very different design philosophy from what they are at the moment. Do you think Aston Martin will sort of treat 2025 as a bit of a buy year and then look to focus all their efforts on 2026, especially with Honda coming in that year? So basically, what I'm sort of trying to ask is, do you think 2025 we might not see as much of Newey in his sort of greatest, and do you think we might see more of it beginning to creep in 2026?
Yeah, I think that's most likely going to be the case. 26 is obviously the aim. That's their realistic chance of winning a championship. I mean, we saw it with Red Bull in 2009. Big regulation change. Newey was absolutely on it. He took Red Bull from being a midfield car to being, by the end of the season, the fastest car on the grid, and then they won the championship the next 4 years after that. So in a cost cap here, it's slightly different. I mean, I would liken this potentially to Mercedes when they were in 2013, and yes, they designed a good car, but behind the scenes, they were developing the all-conquering monster that was the W05, I think it was that year. And Mercedes romped to the next, how many constructors? Like 8 constructors, 9 constructors in a row.
8 in a row it was.
8 in a row. So there is that. I don't think that I might be wrong, but I don't think with the cost cap being there that teams can spend as much as that they can fully develop a car for the following year while also putting quite a bit of effort into the car that is being raced at the moment. I don't think they can do that, or at least if they can't do it as efficiently anyway. So I think 2025 is probably going to be more of the same for Aston Martin. I would expect them just to be in that midfield. If they can maintain that fifth in the constructors, that'd probably be a decent season for them on the whole, really, because McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, all well clear of them. And the guys behind, admittedly, are a decent way behind. So I think it'll just be kind of hold station really for that and all steam ahead for 26.
No, absolutely, and it's I think 2026 and onwards will we'll definitely see certainly the fruits of Newey's labour. I think it's fair to say as the phrase goes. So George, just to wrap up, then, do you just want to give us a quick sort of promo or plug for something you mentioned F1 Chronicle earlier?
Yeah. So I'm doing a lot of videos for F1 Chronicle, all the Chronicle sites really, but F1 Chronicle is particularly busy right now, as you can probably imagine. I've already done a couple of videos about Newey, asking whether they'll win championships together, asking, why is this guy so special? Why is he getting this massive wage? Things like that. A lot of people that perhaps are not as in tune as Formula One are just kind of passively looking at the news, like, oh, this is a big announcement in F1. They're the kind of questions answered that they might go through. And just after recording this as well, I'll do another couple about the Newey Ferrari thing that I mentioned, and also on top of that, just going over the press release that Aston Martin put out too, because there's a few interesting bits of information in there. So yeah, go and check us out on the F1 Chronicle. And yeah, thanks for having us on, Tom, on this impromptu chat about a news announcement that we never saw coming today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we never saw this as coming. Nobody ever saw this. The BBC definitely didn't report on it a few days prior. But no, it is now official. And I tell you what else is official? The Grid Talk is available on YouTube, where most episodes are recorded live. Not this one, as is it's a bit breaking news, but impromptu. But you can also catch episodes on Amazon Fire, Spotify, Apple Music, Verbal, and Pocket Cast. Just search Formula One Grid Talk for our back catalogue of shows with previews and reactions to race results and breaking news. We just want to say a huge thank you to Jared Bradley for supporting us on Patreon. He has upped his membership. And if you want to support the show further, then why not sign up to our Patreon for exclusive content. Also, make sure you're the first to subscribe so you know when each new episode is released. We'll be back soon with plenty more F1 content. Until then, thank you so much for listening to the Grid Talk podcast presented by Bet Online, and goodbye.